folks, welcome to another one of my AHG YouTube episodes. My name is Talal Hamad, reporting to you from Toronto, Ontario. I've done a couple of episodes for this channel. The two were in the kitchen and two of them are about herbs. And for this particular episode, I'd like to focus on one of the herbs that we traditionally use in Islamic herbal medicine in the Middle East and more so in Ayurveda as well. The Black Cumin Seed, or Nigella sativa, which many of us are familiar with as a food item, right? So just to start off the plant, and I'll get an example of it right here. So you can look at it right here, and I'll keep bringing it back into view every now and then so you can have a look at it. But Black Cumin Seed, Nigella sativa, is an annual plant, and it's part of the Ranunculus family, which is the buttercup family. And it's a really tiny little seed, very cheap and very rich in oils, so lots of like omega fatty acids and what have you. And it is as a food, we generally use it in the Middle East, or as a spice or and what have you. And modern Western herbalists, or a lot of the clinical research lately, has been focusing on the cold pressed oil, which is rich in a constituent called thymoquinone, which is what we're focusing on when we're talking about the oil. But a little bit about the plant and how to use it. So traditionally in Islamic herbal medicine, or even like, let's say, Middle Eastern traditional folk usage, we tend to use a lot of herbs or even like dates or fruits that have you in odd numbers, like 3, 5, or 7. I'm not sure why, but there's probably some reason for that. So I was traditionally taught to eat 7 of these seeds a day. So such a low dosage, a single time a day, chew them very well. And interestingly enough, I actually correlated that with some scientific evidence I found where they showed that eating a small amount of black seed oil daily, which correlates to about like 7 of these things, greatly boosted immune response, more so than eating them in larger amounts, which is kind of interesting. But I personally say, you know what, not so much count them, but like maybe go for a quarter of a teaspoon or half a teaspoon a day, chew them really well. I don't use the numbers so much with this one. I've just kind of gone into using it as a whole food, but you know, you can use both if you like. But yeah, that's just one way to do it if you're trying to get into using that plant medicinally. In Arabic, it's called Habbat al-Baraka, which means the blessed seed, and it is thought to protect from every disease except death. Used by the Prophet himself. Is one of the main revered herbs, I'd say, in like Islamic herbal medicine. And actually, quite recently, I had a gentleman from Saudi Arabia who's a PhD in botanist or something like that. He did his PhD on Nigella sativa purely, and on its efficacy in asthma in particular, and its antioxidant capabilities, which I'll talk about in a bit. But he mentioned to me that he never did find any traces in the Quran or any texts or what have you of the seed being consumed 7 seeds a day, which is what they do in that region. But he did find something where they had 7 seeds, or like something equivalent to that, an odd number. The seeds were crushed in an oil of sorts. I'm not sure if it was their own expressed oil. And then that was like essentially like put into the sinus cavity through snorting or what have you to treat various conditions there. It's actually quite interesting, as I've never seen it been done this way in Western or Ayurvedic herbal medicine, but interesting to know one of the ways to use that. The expressed oil, or like the seed again, was also really revered, or not so much revered, but like spoken of by Avicenna, or Ibn Sina, the father of Unani medicine, who said it essentially stimulates the body and helps recover from fatigue and low spirits. So useful for convalescence, perhaps, and stuff like that. And again, it's the Prophet that really revered the seed. He kept saying, hold on to the seed. He kept, like, I think he kept some of the seed on him when some texts mentioned, in addition to using it and prescribing it widely. He himself, by the way, he was a herbalist mainly, so he was very well versed in using a whole bunch of plants. The galactagogue properties of this seed are also very well noted, which are the milk producing properties of it. And especially if you're getting into, I would actually get into the whole seed if you're doing that, as opposed to the expressed oil, which is a bit higher in like the volatiles and what have you, like the thymoquinone. It's a really good nourishing seed, good food, really nice for mothers, for growing children. It's got 8 out of the 9 essential amino acids, omega-3 fatty acids, as I mentioned, carotene. It's actually got like some of the constituents from other plants that we're familiar with, like thymol, which is, in thyme, which gives it like that thyme-like flavor. But touching base on the expressed oil really quickly, that's where a lot of the main research nowadays is coming from, and in Western herbal medicine and in allopathic clinical trials. And it is the thymoquinone constituent that you're looking for in the oil. Usually about like 3% minimum. I like 5% is really good stuff. I carry the 5%, so if you folks are looking, just hit me up and we'll get you set up. Really, really powerful antioxidant effects that have been very well noted. Extremely well noted hepatoprotective effects. So you could use it very well alongside your milk thistles or your high ethanol proof meadowsweet or dried plantain extracts, which are also very well noted for hepatic injuries, or especially like the plantain where you're getting into acetoaminophen induced injury. You could add the black seed oil alongside that. The anti-inflammatory properties are very well noted as well. Use it alongside a whole bunch of herbs that you're looking for chronic anti-inflammatory support, whether it be burdock, whether it be sumac, cayenne or chilies, etc., etc. The renoprotective effects were also very well noted. This is something I actually discovered recently, checking into some of the more recent clinical findings, and how it actually helps the renal tubules, basically lowers the deposit of oxalate crystals, like calcium oxalate sediments in the renal tubules. So very, very impressive, to be honest, that for an oil to do that. And as well, the skin conditions, like there's a kind of like a cooling theme that goes along with this. So the heated eruptive skin conditions, whether they be like acne, psoriasis, or even eczema, all three have had notable benefits from the consumption of black seed oil, partially probably due to the nutritive qualities of the oil, but also obviously due to other things we're yet to understand, because we're looking at the synergy of the entire plant. And that's why I like using the black seed whole, depending on the case, especially if we're looking to skin stuff over the oil, or even both combined sometimes, really just to kind of increase best of both worlds, right? The oil has also been very well noted into various cancer studies, various cancer lines, and its anti-inflammatory effect is partly due to the fact that it actually activates a whole bunch of systems in the body, or mechanisms with it, the various interleukins, 1, 6, 18, 10, a whole bunch of them. It also works into tumor necrosis factor, as well as nuclear factor. And that it really just kind of brings me to a very important point, especially with the TNF point, the tumor necrosis factor. If you're looking into working with clients that are potentially autoimmune, like rheumatoid arthritis, or MS in particular, who are using tumor necrosis factor or TNF reducing drugs, you want to be careful with something like black seed oil, which actually increases it as part of its anti-inflammatory mechanism. So just to kind of show you how a lot of these herbs that are traditionally safe when getting into a lot of the classic autoimmune conditions, personalization is key. So just keep that in mind. And other things of note, obviously, its capability, the oil, a lot of the studies are showing it's been really good at blood sugar management, so diabetes, infertility, so you're looking at sperm motility, sperm quality, and ability to move around and what have you. And yeah, I mean, as I said, a fairly safe herb. Some of the contraindications you're looking for, especially if using topically for the oil, the rash, some allergies, etc., etc. And it's mainly with the oil, I would say, that you may get some contraindications or potential reactions, and because it's moving away again from the whole herb therapy. But again, take into consideration something like olive oil. It's not necessarily whole herb or whole fruit, but it still has a lot of notable benefits. So yeah, that pretty much covers it for me for Black Cumin Seed. Thank you for joining me, and I hope that helped. Peace.